Here, it's a beautiful, beautiful morning here in Tennessee. I think we are about to see closing arguments in the Chad Guy Daybell trial. It's my understanding that he was all being chatty and smiling yesterday. I guess he's really looking forward to going to prison, huh? So anyway, I've been thinking about what it was that I wanted to talk about today. Obviously, here in a little bit, everybody will be going to Crescia K. Eason's Difficult Research to listen and watch the closing arguments. What all have we discovered during all of this time? What have you discovered? What have you come to understand having to deal with this hussy and this asshole all of these years? Well, there were some things that OKJ didn't know about that were brought out in Chad's trial. And then when I got to thinking about, well, okay, so these are new things. How do I fit that into everything else that I already knew? And I guess it really comes down to this, y'all. There is no defense. There is no defense. There was no plea agreement. So John Pryor had to go out here and blow smoke out his ass and do everything else he was doing, and he did a good job doing it. Good morning, Mary Stone, Beach Bum, Cell 82, Cook Goose in Florida. Cook Goose in Florida says true evil exists disguised by religion. Well, that's a good thing to learn. Because whether it's religion, whether it's secularism, whatever it is, you can take that, whatever it is in your life, and you can turn it into some evil-ass shit like Lori and Chad, the rest of them did. Hello, Fancy Nancy. Hello, Vix Tex. Hello, Mr. M. Mark McGarry. It's kind of strange, isn't it? Some of y'all remember when I first opened up the channel, I still fumble all over myself. I still act like a damn idiot. Keep people wondering who the hell and what kind of mental state OKJ's in. Well, let me tell you what. Y'all remember, some of y'all remember us going through this from the get-go. And what we didn't know and what we learned as we went along the way, and all the ups and downs, and all of the times where things were absolutely up in the air. We didn't know when it was going to go to trial or anything.
Good morning, Weedy.
And this man right here. I love you.
Where you beaking?
Okay.
Sausage, egg, and cheese.
All right. So, I mean, it's been, what, 4 years? You remember all the things that we were learning? How disgusted, how angry, how passionate we all were to get justice? Well, closing arguments are today, y'all. And, I'm not trying to throw no wet blanket on anything, but I will say this. When they did the opening statements in this trial, the sex, money, and power theme, and then Rob Wood goes into, chapter 1, and he talks a little, he says, chapter 2. That was quite fitting, wasn't it? Chad wanted to be Mr. Writer. His shitty-ass books, we all learned that we hate his damn books, huh? I mean, what, they're still selling on Amazon? Some idiot's gonna come out here and pick up a copy of his book or Visions of Glory or any of this other stuff. And folks, y'all remember that Tribadoo? What was his name? The young man whose mother and brother took him off to Alaska because it was the end of the world? Well, Justin Lum put on his Twitter, his ex, he put on his Twitter that they gave the mother and the brother 8 months of probation. So what can be done in 8 months? These people are nut jobs. They need mental health big time. This stuff keeps happening over and over again because people want to give themselves an excuse because of their religious beliefs. They go off the deep end. They go off the deep end, maybe not as extreme as what Chad and Lori and the rest of this funky ass bunch did. But well, this is what I've been taught. And there's nothing wrong with having a faith and religious beliefs, y'all. I do. But the bottom line is there's such thing as legality here. And this slap on the wrist stuff ain't gonna happen. I mean, this stuff with use immunity, with Zulema, and all this stuff. What is this sending? What kind of message are we sending here as a society, even around the world, not just here in the United States? Karen L. says, talking of books, I'd love someone to research and write a book on the Daybells. I feel there's a lot more below the surface of that lot. Well, I'll tell you what, Karen L. I think OKJ's had just about enough of the Daybell family. The one thing I can say I've learned, and some of y'all will disagree, is that this family was actively raiding people. And y'all know how I feel about that. It just boils my blood. You know, it's enough that we make judgments here and there about people in our life every day, but to use this whole thing about divinity and God and all this other stuff to say it's okay to do that, you know, it's sad. And in some ways, perhaps, y'all, maybe Tammy went along with it just so she didn't want to rock the boat. Maybe she was doing what they all do in that religion, and that is go under this, you know, the man, the wife, the kids, you know, this whole structure here, which is quite clear in Holy Scripture. But that doesn't mean that a woman loses her voice completely in a marriage. VixTech says, I want to hear from Seth, Leah, and Mark Daybell. Well, what could they say, VixTech? What could they say? And the sad reality is, y'all, Emma and Garth, but more specifically Emma, she knows everything that's been testified to. She knows all about the affair. She knows all about the day after the funeral, they're introducing Lori and all this and that. And yet she still wants to take up for her father. Does anybody have, I mean, I'm not saying she should stop loving her father, okay? But when you love someone, are you going to show that love by lying? Is that really what that love is all about? Is that you can produce lying because you feel that love? That tells you everything you need to know. Love should be something that can be tough. I mean, it can be tough. And, you know, this whole thing, now listen to me. This whole thing about Garth's friend who's working at the haunted house, he has no dog in that, y'all. He has no reason to lie. Now, would Garth have had a reason to lie to this dude and say, I came home, Dad wasn't there, Mom's lips were blue, I found my mother dead? Does he have a reason to lie? Perhaps. Maybe he wanted the attention. You know, but I doubt it. I just don't see how he would just make this up to some fella. That's pivotal testimony, y'all. That is something that the jurors really, I mean, I've never heard it before and could not understand why it was, this witness here, Garth's friend, he didn't testify in the Hussey's trial, which would have backed up a lot more on the conspiracy to commit murder of Tammy, as far as Lori. Fancy Nancy says tough love is an important love. I'll take care of it. I ain't lying on the stand for no one, says Beach Bum. Emma is Chad's surrogate wife, says Vix Tex. Just Me says, where are your morals? Well, guess what, Just Me? I ask myself that question every day about myself. Where are my morals? What am I doing? What does my life stand for? Because I can tell you this right now, my morals get shaky. My morals are not always consistent. And, I can confess that. But I know what you're talking about. Hello, Beach Lady. Hello, Tina Reddington. You ready for the closing arguments? Those are grown people. They have to be responsible for their own actions, says Grammy B. Well, you're right. Everybody. Everyone on the planet, y'all. Except for little children. Because children are just learning and developing, and sometimes they don't know what to do. They don't know the full meal deal. But adults specifically, we all have to be responsible for what we do. God knows. God absolutely knows that anytime OKJ's done something wrong, it comes back to bite me on the ass every damn time. Well, I'll tell y'all, Chad Daybell is fixing to know what it feels like to be bit on the ass by a great big Rottweiler named Law and Justice. Okay? Mark McGarry says, hi, Tina and Beach. We are getting to the end of the trial. And what's interesting, y'all, is after today's closing arguments and they deliberate and they come back, there's a whole new penalty phase. And you can bet your bottom dollar that Emma and anybody and their mama, I wouldn't be surprised if someone from that church came and took up for Chad Daybell trying to spare his life. Well, it's my understanding that through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, when it comes to the death penalty, if it's on the books and it's adjudicated that way and it's decided that way, they're supposed to respect the laws of this country. Again, where is the consistency, right? Cell 82 says, for me, my father would be dead to me the second a child was harmed in any way, let alone what Chad was involved in, let alone murder his wife and remarry in 2 weeks. Well, Cell 82, you got what you call good head on your shoulders. Most common sense, normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill people like me and all of y'all, we understand that. But what has been hard for me, I knew it was out there, but it's being raised away from certain truths that leaves everything up in the air, especially if you're making it up as you go along. And there is absolutely, y'all, in the Holy Scripture, which I believe very firmly in, that you can take anything in that and you can tweak it to bring yourself pleasure, to, take care of them itching ears and find purpose in your life when all along it's not about me. It's about God. Oh, yeah, I know. It's really interesting, is it not? Yes, he took her mother and children were buried in the yard. But she's not going to bring that up while Chad is sitting in the back of that cruiser. She's not bringing that up other than to say maybe they talked about it for that hour and a half he was over at her house before he took off. But even if they didn't, if nothing was said and he got put in the back of that police cruiser, The only thing that could even kind of possibly be anything addressing those terrible issues was she says, well, I think I understand now. What does she understand? What does she understand? That her father's a freaking serial killer and she's going to stand behind him? That's her choice to make. That is her choice to make, whatever she has to do. Because believe you me, y'all, there are all kinds of people out here in the world who's got family members that do this terrible stuff that have really hard decisions to make about their future in terms of their relationship with their loved one. Fancy Nancy says, my Danny said they should have had Emma swear to tell the truth on a Mormon Bible or one of Chud's books. Well, isn't that the real issue, Fancy Nancy? Isn't that the real issue, is whether or not you can take something that people out here consider the truth? I'll tell you what, you're never going to get anything bad from living truth. Let me repeat that. You're never going to get anything bad from living truth. God did not send us his word there in the Holy Scripture for it to screw our lives up, cause illegality and all that other stuff. Mankind, and I'm included in that, y'all, mankind takes something very simple and they blow it up. And they blow it up and make it bigger or more curtailed to their own liking. They're not even seeking God's liking. They're doing it for themselves. Just Me says they have to live with the lies. Well, in their minds, I'm sure. I mean, I can't get in their minds, but I mean, I'm just trying to speak common sense with y'all. They don't think they're lies. They don't think it. You know, I really got to wondering about that as Chad is sitting there at the defense table and this overpowering evidence is of him just being a nut job and a freaking murderer. He must be saying over and over in his mind, I did the right thing. I did the right thing. Because he surely does not believe that Lori and Alex talked him into this shit. Nobody in their right mind would be able to blame anyone else for them doing what they did. We know Chad is not in his right mind, so that doesn't apply to him. But just think about it. Let's just, for sake of argument, okay? Let's, for sake of argument, say Lori and Alex did all this. And Chad didn't know that Alex came onto the property. Y'all know that's a crock of shit, but let's just go with it. And Alex and Lori did this, and Chad got caught up in it, and, you know, oh my goodness, you know, whatever. How many lies? How many lies did he say and do? Lying by omission as well to help cover for them if that was indeed the truth, and it's not. He absolutely, he could say it was Lori and Alex, okay, all he wants. He could even go, I mean, he could even say, I know, you know, the Lord came to me and I know this had to be done and all that. Folks, you're not going to get past the laws of man unless God wants you to. And even then he wouldn't, because he has stated it in his Holy Scripture to respect authority and to do as the authority says. In other words, follow the damn laws. Okay? But let's just say he made an exception. Folks, God would never, ever, ever make an exception for anything like murder or lying or fraud or theft. He wouldn't do that. It would always be for the betterment. You know? So, you know, that's just my opinion. Wouldn't it be funny if the state traced Emma's phone for the day she said she was looking up wind direction, and it came as her being in on the other side of Rexburg at the time? Well, I'll tell you what, that would be funny, Karen Ann. But I think that even if you don't know this case like we do, a juror has to understand. They have to understand that she's going to get up there and say whatever to account for things. I think the state came back and really showed Emma's true colors. She gets on the stand and talks about how Ray Hermosillo's harassing her and how the police are harassing her. They must be dark canes or whatever. And poor Emma, she can't see her mama's autopsy because if she didn't do an interview with them, they weren't going to share it with her. And what does the state do? They give a recording of Emma turning down, looking at the autopsy, even though they're sitting there on that recording saying, you don't have to answer questions, you don't have to interview. The state basically must have realized at some point that Chad's kids were going to try this, and they let the jurors know that these children, which are adults now, the children of Chad Daybell, are going to say whatever they're going to say. Hello, new salsa. Yo, Zulema and her salsa and chips. What has anyone, whenever y'all go to eat salsa and chips, do y'all think of old KJ acting like a silly person going, I am Zulema. I want some salsa and chips. Do you think about that, huh? Hello, language of horses. No, they didn't, Grammy B. They didn't have to have, they had a court order to exhume Tammy Daybell. But John Pryor obviously wants the juror to think, look, they dug her out of the ground. They kept it from the family. Give me a break, y'all. These people were still looking for the children at the time. And they went and if there is no other demonstration of the power of law enforcement to get down to the nitty-gritty of man's sin in this world, God's already got it handled. But you know what I'm saying? That's why he gives authority to man on this earth to institute these laws, the man's law stuff. It's brutal. It's brutal. We always say, they're going to go away for life in prison. But when they get to heaven, when they go have to meet God in person and get judged, they're really going to know what justice is all about, folks. Man's justice here on earth is absolutely brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times like this Thibodeau. They should have put that mother and brother in the slammer for some time, but they give them probation. Something else happens, you're going to see it, because guess what? Even though man's law is so brutal, it's also incomplete. It's constantly changing. They're always supplementing. What was it yesterday? The Supreme Court in Idaho come out with a new definition of reasonable doubt and all this and that. Y'all, they can't keep their laws together. God's law is absolutely perfect. Perfect. We think we know what perfect is. We ain't got a clue what perfect is. If we sat down and wrote out every word that we thought perfect was all about, folks, we can't wrap our heads around God's perfection. Period. End of sentence. Beach One says, sorry, prior court orders and warrants, as you well know, aren't put out in a public statement. That's right, Grammy B. Yes, do salsa. We've all waited a long time for this, all in God's perfect timing. Exactly. And, I keep thinking about this whole journey that we've been on all this time and all the things we've had to deal with. To know that today is the closing arguments, and all the times over this 4 years that we communicated with one another, talked about this case, research analysis, and you. The fact that if it wouldn't have been for all the ones on here that helped old KJ through it all, I wouldn't have had a clue where to even turn or look. It's always about you. It was always about what you thought. I appreciate all of the precious time that y'all gave me. You didn't have to. There's a millions and 5 million YouTube channels out here. It's never about that. It was about just staying connected. Beach Bum says, I'm hoping we get the verdict before Friday. I believe we will, but we could have court Saturday. Stay tuned. Grammy, I don't think Chad, he wasn't going to testify, and I know Lori didn't either. I don't think he's going to be making a statement at his sentencing. I just don't believe that, just like I didn't believe the hussy would. I was shocked that she did. But I think he would look at it like if I say anything, it could go against me because it's some level in his doofus brain. He thinks that maybe he can. John Pryor's probably filled his head full of crap about, we've got this appeal issue, we've got that appeal issue. So he'll probably stay quiet. But I'd be shocked. Just like I was shocked when the hussy made her weirded out statement. What could he say? And listen, folks, it used to be that it was like, in the hussy's trial, it was like, will the jury believe that Tammy was actually murdered? This jury is not the jury that Lori had. This is a different jury. That is a hump that needs to get over. We all know Tammy was murdered. The medical examiner in Utah said it was homicide. I mean, they brought all these people in and all that. But that is the big one. And if he's found guilty on all counts, the way the state laid out this case, Chad Daybell actually was, or the jury believed it anyway, that he was the one that was calling all the shots. Think about that. Think about old KJ Stan and all this. Remember I said they're even Steven. Remember Lori, I'm on equal footing with men. I'm the warrior beyond the millennia. The only time Chad gave in to Lori at all was just so he could crawl between her legs. You know, and he always was asking her, like on the text, you know, you need to seek confirmation of this, Lori. But anytime Lori felt like she wanted to use that, oh, I'm a woman, Chad, you're the man, you know, you make the decision. She just interchanged it. You know, I was reading a statistic, an FBI statistics that says women are 3 times more likely to murder someone they love than a man. 3 times more likely to murder someone they love than a man. Is that saying perhaps? Y'all, there is no way. I don't care what your religious beliefs are in the moment. There ain't no way I would murder my spouse. I love my spouse. I adore, cherish. Part of who I am is my spouse. But it does make sense to me now that when they had that testimony yesterday about how Chad erased his whole Google searches back to 1970, first thing that popped in my head was he's erasing his past life just like he erased all those pictures off of that disk drive or whatever of his wedding and his family photos and started replacing them with Lori, his second segment of his life. This tells you everything you need to know about how he views life. He views life that you can go from one life and start a whole new one, and all you have to do is murder people to get them out of the way so that you can have that. It's almost like a dollhouse with a man and woman. You're sitting there arranging it in there as they're walking through the little room and all this and that. That's what Chad Daybell was doing. Did he have any reverence at all for the life he'd been given? Because make no mistake, y'all. Make no mistake. God gives each person on this planet their life. If it wasn't for God, nobody would be alive. Okay? How does that happen? It happens through procreation, blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line is without God, nobody would have a life out. You know, our life, he knew us before we were in our mother's womb. He understood that we were all going to be here. And I guarantee you that he did not want Chad Daybell or any of these crazy people to believe all this crazy stuff that produced what? Murder, evil. Hello, Kathy Mama Bear. Can you believe it, Mama Bear? We're nearing the end of it. We're nearing the end of it. We're going to have closing arguments today. I know you know this already. Isn't that just strange after all this time that we're finally here through all of this, through everything that's ever happened? We went through the Hussey's trial. I mean, think about before her trial. Think of all of that pre-trial litigation and change of venue and all of the stuff. All the stuff that we had to go through. The time that they released specific parts of what the DNA evidence was and how we all freaked out. The eye of the pickaxe, all the times that we had to deal with all of this, knowing, as I know and many of y'all know, the victims' family members and what they were going through. We saw the ebbs and the flows. We saw the trauma. We saw all these things. And the only reason that we saw those things was because JJ, Tylee, Tammy, Charles, Cresha, Larry, Kay, all of them, they showed us their true love and raw nature. They didn't have to. I'm sure they probably didn't want to, but they did. They were transparent. They were open to allowing people to see all that was seen. Think about the tribute to JJ and Tylee in Idaho that everybody watched. How many times are you going to see something like that? Kathy Mama Bear says it's been quite the roller coaster ride, but on a positive spin, lifelong friendships have been made and we all saw through no matter what. You always find the words, Kathy Mama Bear. Hi, Maisie. Grammy B says, I could have not gotten through this without all of you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, Grammy B, and thank you all of y'all. Hello, Donna. We're all going over to Crescent's here shortly. I just figured since today was closings that OKJ would come out here. Y'all, just think about it all the way back to when OKJ met Candace and my friend Jenny. How much I love those girls. How much I met Cresha and her family. Think about all the beautiful things that have happened. Yes, this is a tragic, terrible, sad, awful thing. But I know in my heart of hearts that JJ, Tylee, Charles, Tammy, Joe, none of them, I can say it and believe it. Whether you do or not, they would not want us to just look at them in the way they died. They would want us to look at the way they lived and have positive things come out of all this. Because, folks, the bottom line is that what did Lori and Chad want out of all this? What did Chad and Lori want out of all this? What? Did they stop to think about how this was going to affect other people? No. They were too busy tickling each other's fancies, living out their freaking delusion. They didn't care. They didn't care who they hurt, aside from what they did to the victims. We're talking about all these victims' family members and people that knew these victims, that loved them. Beach Bumps says, please stay in touch. You'll be sorely missed. I will absolutely be visiting Kresha on Difficult Research. I will be in those comments. I can't wait to see what she does moving forward. It's going to be wonderful. But folks, we are nearing the end of this channel. And I just want y'all to know how much I love you. I appreciate you. I honor you. I thank you for accepting me and being understanding of who I am, which is a freaking mess. Y'all are the best of the best. I'm never going to forget a single one of you, and I'm going to see many of you on Difficult Research to continue our friendship in this world inside of a world. What I plan on doing is taking all the comment sections off of the vids and leaving it on the channel in case somebody wants to look back or whatever. So, well, you're the real deal, Fancy Nancy. Thank you, Sandy Majors. I love you. I love all of you. If you do not know that OKJ loves you, then you better check yourself. Yes, Kathy, we've got each other's cell phone numbers. That's interesting, is it not? You, Kresha, I'm assuming Big E still has my phone number. That's it, though. And Candace and my friend Jenny. No, Badger, I'm not going to do anything I'm not doing anything after this. I'm moving on into a different chapter of my life. I've given 4 years, y'all. I've been dedicated. I have been committed. I've been silly. I've been stupid. I've done everything that I, could think to do to keep everyone moving forward. My heart will always have each and every one of you in it. Think about that. Think about that, what I gained out of all of this. I'll always remember all of you. You're welcome, Mary. Yes, Mark McGarry. Don't forget, Rays, I got this great big boulder over here in the side yard with TMO on there. It says, I love you. I did that in honor of all of you. It's always going to be part of my life. But it's going to be so cool today, y'all, to finally have this case. The closing arguments. John Pryor, I guess he's gonna try to blame Lori and Alex. I don't see how he can disconnect his client from all of that, but I'm sure he'll try. He's absolutely going to, in his closing argument, hit on that Tammy really wasn't murdered, that it was natural causes. He's going to hit on that. Well, I'm going to miss all of y'all, but y'all can all find me from time to time on Kresha K. Easton's Difficult Research. Just because this case is over, yes, there's other cases that she's going to be covering that pertain to her family. But even if there wasn't, she's going to continue to move up like a rocket ship. That's where she's going. I predict that. And I have no clairvoyance whatsoever. Kresha K. Easton's going to go through the roof. Through the roof. And I want to see that for her. I'm excited for her. Well, Grammy B, everything y'all have ever done for me. Think about it, y'all. Think about everything we've talked about, everything we've ever done and said, all the stupid stuff I've done, my theatrical stuff. Oh, I'm not done yet. In terms of this case, I've got a few surprises waiting on the Rays. You know, a Ray surprise. I've got a few of those waiting. You know, I'm not going to go out without a bang, you know? So you just You hang tight. This isn't the last time you're hearing from me. It will be soon, but not soon enough, right? And with that, I'm going to just hear y'all. I'm going to smoke this cigarette, and then I'm going to hop off here, okay? Mary says, not all aspire to be YouTubers. Oh, let me tell you what. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done, Mary. That's why I just am so inspired by Krisha for her to come. She comes on so much and has so much content. I'm like, I don't know how she does it. Because it's very hard work. I mean, it is super tough. So... I've done a lot of stuff in my life, y'all. Really hard stuff. But that was one thing I can say, looking back over at my life, now that I'm 53 years of age, I can say I've been there, I've done it. I've made friends along the way. I've reached some kind of understanding in different areas of my life. Because no matter what OKJ immerses herself with, I've got to find some good out of it. I've got to be able to do that. Yeah, well, Beach Bum, all of y'all, like I've said before, and you know who you are. I would have much rather you'd been on the screen and me commenting. Or somehow they created some kind of platform where I guess you could get on a Zoom call, but you know, it just... Oh, Madonna, you're the best. All of y'all are the best. Let me tell y'all something. Q says it perfectly. Different perspectives. You know, the biggest lesson, and the Rays remember this, y'all remember me saying this, the biggest lesson OKJ ever learned in my life is that I cannot assume that I understand other people or that other people can understand me. I can't assume that. Because everybody sees through their own perspective in their own life. And so I look for those little signs that people are getting what I'm saying. And I look to them to see if, through my feedback, if I'm understanding them. Does that make sense at all? It's truthful. I could say all the way back to when I opened this channel, because I was so afraid that people wouldn't understand me and make fun of me and all this and that. It was that example that I gave that you and I are standing on the side of the road. We're standing right on the side of the road, and we both look in the same direction over down the street away, and we see a dog run across the street. In that moment, are we thinking the same thing? I could be thinking, oh, that dog is going to get hit by a car. Or the other person could be saying, oh, that's a German Shepherd. You know what I'm saying? People don't think exactly alike. And that's the beauty of life. Yes, it can be turned into terrible, awful, evil things. But at the same time, there's good that comes from it, and I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful that y'all allowed me to share my family with you. To those days where OKJ was a blubbering mess. Hell, y'all, I'm going through menopause. I'm going through all these things. There have been days that I've talked about friends of mine who committed suicide, or I've got mental health issues, or whatever. Self-care, whatever the conversation. Y'all were there. Just like y'all are there this morning. It might be a different time for you. While OKJ's drinking my coffee, smoking my cigarette, getting ready for the closing arguments in the Chad Guy Daybell case. He can take his ass on to prison, whether it's death row or life. He needs to get used to shaving his back. He needs to get used to understanding there are going to be men in there that are going to want to play with him. And his nice, soft, demure hands. Okay? He's going to have a life, y'all. He's going to have one of them lives where he goes to prison and there's going to be feces on the walls and ceilings and men are going to be bending him over and all that other stuff. Should it matter? Whether it's death row or whether it's life in prison? Well, I can tell you this right now. He's going to be working on tightening up them abs and growing his hair out. And he ain't going to get a tan in prison, but he can hope for one. He's going to have to tighten up them abs. He's going to have to grow out his hair because he's going to be some guy's bitch. Okay? That's the truth of the matter. He's not going to live out his life in prison and not have a problem. They're going to have to keep him segregated for a while until all this shit blows over because there are going to be men in prison that's going to be like, yep, that's that dang guy who thought he was Jesus. Let me tell you something, y'all. There's not a lot that a man or a woman, for that matter, in prison can turn to. And so a lot of them turn to religion, whatever kind of religion it is. But they're not going to learn it from Chad. They already know what they believe, right? A lot of them do. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And to know that there's a man in prison that told other people he was the Holy Ghost and Jesus Christ, or the son of Jesus, the brother of Jesus, that's not going to go over well. Obviously, murdering children's not going to go over well. And he's going to have to deal with it. He thinks it's bad in a jail cell over there. Getting decent food. Wait till his ass goes to a men's prison. Let me sum it up like this. Lori Hussey Daybell is over there in Arizona, and she took some of her belongings with her. I posted it on the community wall. She had 3 boxes of ibuprofen. Okay? That's what she had. She ain't getting nothing that's going to help what she's going through, whether it's migraines, whether it's concrete boobs from having a boob job, whatever. Living in that kind of situation where you're not on a big 4-poster bed like Lori was and her children are sleeping on mattresses in the floor. Chad Daybell had everything in the world to look forward to. He had a lifelong partner with Tammy. He had his kids. Obviously, the years of teaching them that they need to rate other people or stay away from that kid at school, Emma. That kid's a 3 dark. Give me a break. Give me a break. These people, they teach these things to the youth. The youth grow up. They teach it to theirs. So forth and so forth. It's ridiculous. Well, Language of Horses says, I hope Garth and Emma lose their teaching jobs. Well, I'll tell you this, Language of Horses. When you've got, this isn't just going on in Idaho. What is it? Blaze Thibodeau over there in Arizona, just news come out. The mother and the brother there just got probation. They just got probation. So they can, you know what they're going to think? The Dark Canes of the world, they came and tracked us down in Alaska and took Blaze away, and then they arrested us because they don't want us to do the divine thing. But guess what? We didn't get put in prison. We got probation because God's got more for us out here to do. Give me a break. Some have said that Chad really thinks he's getting out of this, that somehow some divine intervention. Well, it really comes down to the 12 jurors, doesn't it? What are they going to do? I'll just say this because I have to. If somehow, some way, this jury does not believe that Tammy was murdered and he does not get that charge, or any other charge for that matter, it's going to tell you everything you need to know about man's law and man's justice. Am I teetering or sitting on the fence wondering whether he's going to get out of some kind of trouble? Not really. I think he's going to be guilty on all counts. But then again, I didn't expect that the hussy would speak at her sentencing, and she did. How many times have old KJ been wrong about all kinds of things? I never put myself out there that I had all the answers. Chad the Necromancer, drunk on his perceived power. Which reminds me, VixTex, when I first opened up the channel, I don't know if some of y'all remember, but I put on a ball cap, pretended to be Chad, and I got all these comments. Why are you making fun of this? This is terrible. Y'all been receiving stuff like that all this time. I have no regrets whatsoever in making fun of these damn cult clowns. I've done it, and I'm thankful that I did it, that I was able to alleviate a little of the pressure that people were feeling about these injustices that happen to these victims. I had enough strength and enough imagination to go there. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. Granny Whisperer says, I think I will miss your skits the most. Yeah, there were times I got pretty heavy, y'all. Not on the skits, but other areas and stuff. But all I could do, and I've said it over and over again, and I hope that you take this to heart, I was only demonstrating who I am, just as you were demonstrating who you are. And we can't fully do that, right? We can't fully demonstrate who we are 100% of the time. Thank you, Maisie. Just remember this, y'all. In life, love, friendship, compassion, desire, positive desire, all those things are there. And it's up to us to take hold of them. Just remember that. Thank y'all again for everything. We'll get back together soon. And maybe, just maybe, I'll come up with something very interesting for after the closings. We'll see. But I just had to get with the Rays and let them know how much I love you. I'm thinking of you. Please be there for, I know you will, be there for Cresha at Difficult Research. Who knows, maybe down the road, KJ will take another trip down to Louisiana. I do plan to go back up to North Carolina to visit Jenny and Candance. We'll see. It's really up to them, though, you know. Grammy B, I'm going to close with your comment. God is love. Y'all take care. Let's see this justice through understanding. Have a great day, everyone. And keep on looking.